typing isn't also particularly, no, actually I don't like this, okay. What's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, a brand new moveset, and, what's up guys, macadii here, and today guys, a brand new moveset and strategy guide video. What we're going to be doing is having a look at Mimikyu, and having a look at some of the potential sets that can be run, and where it can fit within your team. So if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like down below, I would really appreciate it. So first of all, we'll run it through its its ability and also its stats. So the ability Disguise is an incredibly useful one. What it means is that the first time it gets hit by a Pokemon, it takes 0 damage and then the disguise breaks, and then the next attack from there will start to do damage, sort of going on from there. So basically it gives it a free turn where nothing can damage it. It can be statused, but nothing basically can damage it, and it can do whatever it wants. Same as well, it can switch in, take a Z move, take 0 damage, and then the disguise breaks from there. So that's also quite a useful thing. But the main way it's being abused at the minute is either to A, stop setup sweepers, because if there's an opponent setup sweeper that's running through your team, you can send this guy out, Disguise takes the hit for you, and then you can pummel them back from there and hopefully kill them. The other thing that's used for as well is setup. So I've got a wide range of different sets, going from I would argue the most viable, down to some slightly fun memey ones, if you want to give those ones a go. So pay most attention to the ones on the left, but if you want to run something a little bit fun, these ones might give you a few more ideas. So this is the first set I would definitely recommend. Actually, first of all, we will have a quick talk about the stats. So the offensively, it's not particularly great, I must admit. Like base 90 attack isn't particularly powerful, but then the fact that it gets Swords Dance and has that turn free setup does mean actually it's not too bad, and you can actually almost break 600 attack once you get that SD up. So it's not the worst thing in the world, especially paired with 96 speed, which is a pretty decent speed tier, especially if you want to invest in it. And even uninvested, you're going to be outspeeding pretty much every wall in the game, so that's also quite fun. And it does have access to priority and things like Shadow Sneak and stuff like that to hit anything that's faster. In terms of defensive typing, it's not particularly bad. Great offensive typing. Ghost plus Fairy is a very, very powerful combo, and it's very difficult to try and wall that sort of combo. You have to basically, the walls have to rely on natural bulk rather than you not having coverage to be able to hit them neutrally. In terms of defense, is pretty bulky, naturally. It doesn't have the greatest HP stat, but 105 and 80 in defense isn't like the worst. So you might still have a chance after you've set up one Swords Dance to set up another one before you can then go in and start rampaging through their team. So the first set that I would recommend you guys, which I would argue is probably the most viable one, is the Life Orb set. So you want that extra immediate power. You basically find an opportunity to come in. You want to do this late game. You don't want to be doing what a lot of people do and lead with Mimikyu, because everyone seems to be leading off with a U-turner or something like that. Like, if I see a Mimikyu out there, I'm more likely to lead with a U-turner, because I can just U-turn out, break the disguise, and then, you've not really achieved much, because I can just U-turn into my counter to save this guy. The disguise is very, very useful, so you don't want to just waste it in the first few turns. You want to save it, help wear down its counters, and then you can come in, Swords Dance up, and sweep from there. In terms of other moves, we've got Play Rough and Shadow Claw, which, as I said, gives you fairly unresisted coverage, and then you've got the Shadow Sneak there, which gives you the priority. In terms of the EV spread, I've gone for max speed, so that means you can outspeed a larger proportion of the tier, and you can rely more on going for Play Roughs rather than Shadow Claws, because Shadow Sneak is actually quite lackluster, especially only 40 base power. It does give you that priority to outspeed fast stuff, but most of the time you want to be trying to be clicking Play Rough or Shadow Claw to hit that little bit harder. The next set we've got here is the Trick Room setter, which you can either run with Trick Room here, or if you want to be really cheeky and you can still run Life Orb, or even Focus Sash. And Focus Sash actually works with the first Mimikyu as well. The advantage of Focus Sash, if there's no rocks up, you can actually get 2 Swords Dances up, because you Swords Dance, they break your disguise, you Swords Dance again, they bring you down to your Sash, and then you're good to go to sweep from there. So it depends whether you want to go for Life Orb or Sash. Same as well with this guy. You can also go for Ghostium Z or something like that if you want just one attack that's going to be really, really pummeling them. But basically this guy is designed to set up Trick Room guaranteed for 1 turn, and that's going to be really, really nice for most Trick Room teams. Whenever I run a Trick Room team, I always try and run this guy, because it's really, really great if if they've got a very powerful offensive Pokemon that's stopping you from setting up your Trick Room with all of your other setters. Being able to come in, set up your Trick Room, and then you got 5 turns from there of Trick Room is always a really, really nice thing. And as I said, it's still pretty decent offensively even without the setup. He won't be hitting the hardest, but still, it's the guaranteed setup that's the most important bit. You can also try and take advantage of Mimikyu's typing, because as I said, it's pretty decent defensively, and he does force a lot of switches, and it gives you the ability to sub up, and then you can basically keep your disguise. And what that then means is you've subbed up, they attack you, break your sub, you've still got your disguise intact, so you're able to Swords Dance basically twice from there, and then you've got the Play Rough and Shadow Sneak to be able to go on and sort of try and get a sweep going from there. So it's all about trying to sweep a lot of the times with Mimikyu. The other option over the Life Orb option, if you want a option that gives you a bit more power than the Life Orb option, I think, if you have a think about it, because the basically Z Splash gives you +3, so it's basically like a physical tail glow in attack. And the advantage that you've got over the Life Orb set is obviously you're not taking recoil, and also you're up to +3 rather than having just the Life Orb, which gives you an extra third. So I think they probably hit about the same just because of how a Life Orb works in terms of the multiplier. But the advantage with this one is you don't take any recoil from that, so you don't have to worry about being worn down and sort of limiting your sweep from there. And then we've got the 3 moves here, obviously Play Rough, Shadow Claw, and Shadow Sneak, which I personally think are the best 3 to go for. If you want other options, you've also got Wood Hammer, and also Leech Life if you want to have some alternate ones. The Leech Life obviously gives you recovery, but I still prefer the Shadow Sneak to be able to give you that priority, because I think that's going to be really useful, especially when your speed's good, but it's not that great. Next, we got the Mimikyu, which is the Z Spooky one. So we got the Ghost Z there, where if you want to get a more powerful Shadow Sneak, or you can also run Shadow Claw over Substitute. So you can either go Swords Dance, or you can just go for Swords Dance with the Shadow Claw. And basically that means that if they've got a wall that they're switching in, then you can go for your Ghost Z, basically activate your Ghost Z move, and just absolutely pummel them from there and break through, and then you can continue sweeping from there. On the subject of sweeping, another way you can run Mimikyu, which is, I would argue, the most memey, but I have seen it being used, and I do think it has some potential, is the red card one. So basically this is designed to mess up your opponent, especially if they've got a setup sweeper, and also if it's a more defensive one, so if it's Calm Mind or something like that, because what happens is, they're Calm Minding up, you don't have any way to be able to beat them, you send out Mimikyu, they have to attack you at some point, so they go for the Psychic or something like that, break your disguise, so you don't take any damage, but then the red card sends them out and they're sent into something else. And then on that turn as well, you can Swords Dance, and basically you turn the sweep around. So they've gone from having a setup sweeper that could beat you, to then being sent out into something random with you being at +2. So that's going to be pretty cool, but as I said, it probably is the more memey option. I would personally just say go for either the Life Orb set or the Sash set if you're confident that you can get rid of hazards. So there you go, guys, that's my guide to how to use Mimikyu. Hopefully you guys found that useful. There's a lot of, as I said, some memey sets, but I think some pretty useful ones from there. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.